What's up to all my people, and welcome to Stoniecast number 105 and season 4, episode 3 of Thoughts and Hunches, Making Money in Bunches and Sucker Punches. Let's call this the Nick Bosa edition. It's your boy Stony back for the 105th time, and I'd like to welcome all of my fellow hoodlums, scumbags, lowlifes, anybody named Phil Mickelson, altar boys with unhealthy relationships with their priests, cheats, hustlers, foul-mouthed raging alcoholics with abusive language, friends and family of the gooch, fienders and degenerates. Hey, if you're new to the show, you probably fit into one or more of those categories, so welcome. And make sure to hit the subscribe button down here in the lower right-hand corner so that way you can get notified every time I put out a new video. To spread the word is easy. Just tell other degenerates to go to YouTube and enter Thoughts and Hunches in the search bar. That'll take you directly to my page so you can be dialed into everything I give you. Now, before we get to the picks, I have some thoughts. Top story of the week before Nick Bosa just signed is clearly Deion Sanders, a.k.a. Coach Prime. For years, he's been one of my favorites, and what he's accomplished at Colorado in just 1 week is astounding. With over 50 transfers and only 3 returning starters from a 1-11 team a year ago, what Deion has done is unprecedented in college football history. No one's even close. Coach Prime is now officially a disruptor into the world of college sports. I'm not going to overreact after week 1, right? So I'm going to play the wait-and-see game with him for this season after a game in which his team didn't commit any penalties. They had flawless execution, which is rare for a team with over 70% transfers in their first year, and no big turnovers. But what if he continues to go big this year and next year in Boulder and keeps making noise before a school president somewhere down here in the SEC says, hey, come to my school, Deion, where I'll give you $10 million plus per, and you can recruit in Texas and Florida. How long before Jerry Jones says, come coach my Cowboys in the NFL? Right now, Deion holds all the cards because he's clearly the biggest story in sports following last weekend. Another thought is more of what I just said, only this time it's about the Pac-12 as a conference. The Pac-12 is currently 13-0 after going 12-0 over the weekend. That's a story. But if you look closely, there's a lot of very good quarterbacks in the Pac-12 that don't get enough talk. It all starts with USC's Caleb Williams, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner and next year's number 1 pick overall in the NFL draft. Now, these are in no particular order, but chew on Cam Rising of Utah, who hasn't even played yet due to the ACL tear from last year's Rose Bowl, but we all know that he's the real deal. There's Michael Penix Jr. from Washington, who's going to throw for 400 yards every week this season. There's Jaden DeLora from Arizona, who's probably the most underrated of the bunch. There's the previously mentioned Shedeur Sanders from Colorado, Deion's son. There's DJ Uiagalelei, formerly of Clemson. Now he's at Oregon State, and he went off over the weekend. There's Bo Nix, formerly of Auburn. He's now getting it done in Oregon. That's not all, but that's pretty damn impressive, as most of these players will be playing on Sundays in the near future, and it gives us a look at how good this conference is in their last year as a conference. Now, I did have... finally, one more thought. LSU is home in Baton Rouge, right? This weekend to take on Grambling State. Well, yeah, of course they are. After getting humiliated on Sunday night and now playing a team that they can beat up on at home. What a joke. I mean, really, LSU? Come on, you're better than that. Oh, wait, actually, they aren't. After bragging that they would beat Florida State, LSU head coach Brian Kelly, the man from the South with his family, blamed his players and himself, calling it a, quote, total failure. Of course it was. Just like I told you it would be. Florida State head coach Mike Norvell coached circles around Kelly on Sunday in the second half as Kelly made no adjustments and FSU ran the same running scheme at will over LSU's shitty-ass defense. This week, there's no number on this game and no pick because they're playing freaking Grambling, right? But I had to drop a bomb on this punk-ass fan base because I just had to. I mean, they deserved it. Now, moving on. NFL Week 1 is here, and NCAA Week 2, which I will call Week 3 because Week 0 doesn't exist for me, is also here. The picks that I'm about to give you are so plentiful that I can't get into full breakdowns of every game, so they're going to come a lot quicker. In past seasons, I would do college first, followed by the NFL. But starting tonight, I'm going to go night by night and give you my plays based on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday games. Yes, for those of you virgins and rookies, that means right now, for the next 3 months, there will be football played at least 5 days a week. Yes, and wait till Maction starts in November. Then it'll be 6 days a week. Last week, I did what I do. I delivered more W's to you in college football in Week 2. I went 2-2 on Thursday, 3-1 on Friday, 10-7 on Saturday, 2-2 on Sunday, and 0-1 on Monday, which was a disappointing way to end the week after LSU shit themselves Sunday night, costing us the total, and Clemson looked even worse on Monday. Add it all up, though, and that's 17-13, which is what I was seeking, and that's okay. It's not great, but it's okay. I was eyeing 19-11 at halftime of the LSU-Florida State game on Sunday night, though the numbers are a little better if you take into account the fact that I did hit Fresno on the money line at plus 160, which is like a win and a half, let's face it. All right, now, here are the numbers from last week. 17-13, like I said, 56.66%. Add that to the first week. Overall, 22 wins, 15 losses, 59.46% winning percentage. You're welcome. Please remember that all these picks are 100% free, all right? I'm not charging you anything. Plus, you get to look at my beautiful face for a half hour. Now, let's move on to this week's plays, and we'll start tomorrow night on Thursday at 8:20 Eastern on NBC at Arrowhead Stadium. It's the defending Super Bowl champion Chiefs listed as a 4.5-point favorite over the Lions. The Chiefs are the Chiefs, and we all know what they have and what to expect. The Lions are the trendy pick this year to steal the NFC North division this year after they fell agonizingly short of the playoffs just 8 months ago. A good young roster, a head coach with a quarterback in Jared Goff, who previously went number 1 overall and is coming off the best season of his career, means the Lions have big thoughts, big dreams, and a big brown Mercedes sedan. Shout out Sheila Ian Prince. The bottom line is the Chiefs don't cover a lot of numbers, and the Lions do. Plus, Chris Jones is still holding out, and Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes' safety net, has a hyperextended knee, isn't healthy, and probably isn't going to go tomorrow night, which dropped the line to 4.5 all the way from 6.5. But I'm still going to take the Lions on the road here, plus the number to kick off the season. With the NFL taking over now on Thursday, there's a college game tomorrow, but there's no line posted. So we'll move on to the lone Friday night college game. It's 7:30 Eastern on ESPN2 in Lawrence. 1-0 Kansas is a 3-point home favorite over 1-0 Illinois. Both schools are coming off bowl game losses last season, but they both won their season openers last week. KU rolled over Missouri State on the road, while Illinois squeaked past Toledo at home. Brett Bielema has gone 13-12 in his first 2 seasons in Champaign, while KU is known for starting fast and fading late in the season. As a short home favorite here, this has the makings of a close one, so I'm going to roll with the Illini on the road plus the points leading into Saturday. Now we'll move on to Saturday. And we're going to start early at 11 Eastern in Winston-Salem as 1-0 Wake Forest is a 10.5-point home chalk over 2-0 Vanderbilt. Vandy's off to a rare 2-0 start after wins over Hawaii and Alabama A&M. Not exactly top-notch competition. While the same can be said of Wake's 20-point home victory over national power Elon a week ago. 10.5's a big number for the Deeks to lay against anyone without Sam Hartman anymore, let alone an SEC team. My rule is that An SEC team as a double-digit dog out of conference is an easy one, so I'm going to roll with the Commodores to start off a busy Saturday. At noon Eastern on Saturday on ABC in Raleigh, 13th ranked Notre Dame brings their 2-0 record to town as a 7.5-point road favorite over 1-0 North Carolina State. 2 blowout wins for the Irish over Navy and Tennessee State has served as practice for the aforementioned Sam Hartman as their new quarterback. But it's the Irish defense that's been impressive so far, as they've only allowed a pair of field goals in 2 games, though again, they haven't played anybody. NC State took out a game, they took out a really, really good Connecticut squad last week as dual threat quarterback Brennan Armstrong is the do-all, end-all for the Wolfpack. As much as I like him and I like the home field advantage at Carter Finley, the Irish are cruising right now on both sides of the ball, and I got to roll with them until I get burned. Give me the Irish and lay the number. Also at noon Eastern on Big Fox at Folsom Field, 0-1 Nebraska comes to town as a 3-point road dog in Coach Prime's home debut in Boulder against 1-0 Colorado. Nebraska's defense under new head coach Matt Rule was legit in last week's 13-10 loss at Minnesota, but former Georgia Tech quarterback Jeff Sims struggled to consistently move the ball on offense. Colorado's defense wasn't very good in Fort Worth last week, but it was masked by an offense that seemed to score at will over last year's national champion runners-up. I believe that the 3 is a trap because everyone saw, or at least has heard, about Colorado beating TCU, because Deion's been everywhere. Colorado's defense was alarmingly bad, especially against the run, which is what Nebraska does well, and that's the big issue I'm having with the Buffs right now. While the public will no doubtedly pound Colorado here, I'm going to dance with Nebraska on the road and the points. Yes. Also at noon Eastern on Saturday in Waco, 14th ranked and 1-0 Utah enters as a 7-point road favorite over 0-1 Baylor. The Utes took out Florida at home with Bryson Barnes filling in for star quarterback Cam Rising. Barnes was fine and didn't make any mistakes while Rising is still rehabbing from the torn ACL. Rising's going to dress, but I think Barnes is going to start and go unless Utah gets behind early. Baylor hasn't won since October of last year and were beaten at home by Texas State last week. The Bears defense gave up way too many big plays, and they are in trouble again here without starting quarterback Blake Shapen, who got injured last week's loss. My biggest issue is the Bears offense against an aggressive and very disciplined Kyle Whittingham-coached Utah defense. I like the Utes here to cover, even though it's a touchdown. Lay them on the road. 3:30 Eastern on ABC in Miami. We have a good matchup here as the 1-0 Canes host 23rd ranked Texas A&M with the Aggies listed as a 4-point road chalk. Neither school was tested last week as the Canes took out Miami of Ohio and Texas A&M rolled over New Mexico. Now they face off in South Florida, and as much hype that A&M has, their offense is in for a stern test against Miami's lightning-fast defense. Usually it's week 3 or 4 that Miami's fans begin to see the light and realize how bad they really are. But I have a feeling it starts this weekend as the Aggies leave Miami with a win and a cover, leading Canes fans to accept their fate. Shout out Teddy KGB. Your fate is right over here. Also at 3:30 Eastern at Jack Trice Stadium in Ames on Big Fox. Iowa and Iowa State tangle with the Hawkeyes posted as a 4-point road favorite. State beat up Northern Iowa last week while Iowa beat Utah State and failed to cover on one of my picks. Thanks, Iowa. Iowa's defense is better, but State moves the ball more efficiently than the Hawkeyes. Big 10 versus Big 12, interstate rivalry, give me the home dog. I'll take the Cyclones plus the 4. 3:30 Eastern on CBS in Ann Arbor. Second-ranked Michigan is a huge 36-point favorite over UNLV. The Rebels beat Bryant last week, 44-14, while Michigan pasted East Carolina 30-3. The Wolverines are as close to a complete team as there is in college football, and some may say they deserve to be number one. I think Blake Corum goes off on the ground for the Wolverines, and Michigan's defense imposes its will on the Rebels. Yeah, call me crazy, but I'm going to lay the 5 touchdowns and go with Big Blue here. 3:30 Eastern on ESPN2 in New Orleans. 22nd ranked Ole Miss is a 7-point road favorite over 24th ranked Tulane. The Green Wave picked up right where they left off last year after beating USC in the Cotton Bowl. And they beat up South Alabama last week. Really bad. Ole Miss was busy hanging 73 on Mercer. And as much as I like Tulane, especially at home, Ole Miss head coach Lane Kiffin will have quarterback Jackson Dart firing away, and I see this one getting away from the Green Wave with the Rebels winning and covering easily. And all I keep seeing on TV, Adam Schefter, Nick Bosa, everyone wants to talk Nick Bosa. 5 years, $170 million. I should have been a football player, and I was born about 30 years too late. But that's all right. It is what it is. 5 Eastern on the Pac-12 network in Seattle. 10th ranked Washington's a huge 34.5-point favorite over Tulsa. Washington blasted Boise State last week in one of my winners, and Tulsa beat up Arkansas Pine Bluff. I like Michael Penix Jr. as the Huskies quarterback a lot, and I expect him to have another huge game on Saturday, especially with his very good wide receivers. And the Huskies are going to win big, but that's too many points to lay, so I'm going to take the Golden Hurricane plus all them points. 5:15 Eastern in Chapel Hill, 24th ranked North Carolina is an 18-point favorite over Appalachian State. Carolina cost me last week by beating up on South Carolina behind another solid performance from Drake May, who's right now, he's the likely number one pick 2 years from now because he's only a sophomore. And the guy's just incredible, right? But App State has a knack for not only covering, but winning these types of matchups. Now, I'm not going to go that far, but I will absolutely take the Mountaineers here, plus the points on the road. 6 Eastern in Norman, 20th ranked Oklahoma is a 16.5-point favorite over SMU. Both teams can score, as Oklahoma always does, but it's Oklahoma's defense that worries me. With the total set at 71, I'm going to back off and just roll with the Mustangs, who had an impressive blowout win over La Tech last week. Give me SMU plus the points on the road. 7 Eastern on ESPN in Tuscaloosa, the game of the week. 4th-ranked Alabama is a 7-point home favorite over 11th-ranked Texas in the weekend's clearly the best matchup. Texas beat up on Rice while Bama cruised past Middle Tennessee State last week. This is a rematch of last season's thriller in which Bama held on for a tough and gritty 20-19 win. And while the Tide has a couple of members of their secondary banged up right now, I still like them to get the win and the cover here, especially at home. 7 Eastern on Big Fox in Lubbock. 15th ranked Oregon is a 6.5-point road favorite over Texas Tech. While Oregon was busy dropping 81 points on Portland State's best high school team last week, Texas Tech lost the thriller to Wyoming in the best game of last weekend, period. It's easy to look at the 0-1 Red Raiders as getting pushed around by a team that just scored 81 points, but I'm going to take the home dog here in a mild surprise to keep this one close. Red Raiders plus the points. 7 Eastern on Fox Sports 1 in Boise on the Smurf turf. Central Florida travels a long ways in a 3.5-point road favorite over Boise State. UCF is a different team on the road than they are at home in the bounce house. But their blowout win over Kent State was enough for me to see. Couple that with Boise State getting smashed by Washington. I'm all over UCF. So I'm going to roll with the Knights as the short favorite on the road. 7:30 Eastern on the Big 12 network in Stoneapolis. Minnesota's a 19.5-point home favorite over Eastern Michigan. The Eagles haven't lost since October of last year, and while they hardly looked great in last week's season-opening win over Howard, Minnesota's offense was stuck in neutral, despite getting a walk-off field goal to beat Nebraska. 19.5 are just way too many points for a Minnesota offense to lay, and I just won't do it. I can't do it. Give me Eastern Michigan and the points. 7:30 Eastern on ABC in Pullman. 19th ranked Wisconsin's a 6.5-point road favorite over Washington State. Both teams had stress-free wins last week, and as much as I like Wazoo to make a statement this year, as they and Oregon State are the last remaining members of what will soon just become the Pac-2, I still like whiskey here, laying the number on the road. The size of the Badgers will be too much for the Cougars to deal with. 7:30 Eastern in Starkville, Mississippi State is a 10-point favorite over Arizona on the SEC network. Both schools won easily last week, and as Hail State tries to navigate the waters after the death of Mike Leach, and they're going to honor him this week, right, in a home game since he passed away last year. Leach was the guy. Arizona is a tough, underrated team with a solid quarterback in Jaden Delora that I just talked about. They're going to cover, and they might sneak out a W. I don't think they will, but they're going to cover. Give me the Cats and the points. 7:30 Eastern in Stone Diego. UCLA comes to town as a 13.5-point road favorite over San Diego State. The Aztecs are 2-0 after a couple of sluggish wins over Idaho State and Ohio, while UCLA got the win but not the cover late Saturday night over Coastal Carolina, another one of my winners. The Bruins have found their quarterback in true freshman Dante Moore. I'm just not sold on San Diego State's offense, so I'm going to take the Bruins to run away with this one. 10:30 Eastern on Fox Sports 1 in Tempe. Oklahoma State's a 3.5-point road favorite over Arizona State. Neither team was impressive last week against a couple of tomato cans, and I still like Arizona State at home on the late night. Give me the home dog Sun Devils here. 10:30 Eastern in Berkeley on ESPN. Auburn is a 6.5-point road favorite against Cal. Both teams won easily last week, and Auburn is traveling a long way to play a Cal team that is never on national TV, especially at home. Give me the Tigers, even though their offense is suspect. Finally, the Degenerate Special. Yep, mark it down, the Degenerate Special. Your favorite, my favorite, and my boy Lugo's favorite. This one's out for you, Lugo, because I know you love the Degenerate Special. 10:30 Eastern on Fox. It's 6th-ranked USC is a 29.5-point road favorite in Palo Alto against Stanford. As these two schools meet for the last time as members of the Pac-12, SC is already 2-0, and their offense is sure to hang 50 on everyone they play every week. Can Stanford score 20? Sure, but SC might score 60. Give me the Trojans and lay the hammer to close out the college football weekend. That's 21 plays for Saturday, and the one on Friday gives 22 NCAA picks for week 3. Okay, fine. Y'all ready? I know you are. All you NFL heads that have just been dying and chomping at the bit. Yeah, I gave you tomorrow's game already, but now let's jump ahead to Sunday's action. We'll start at 1 Eastern at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Hotlanta as the hometown Falcons are 3.5-point favorites over Carolina. The Panthers are led by rookie quarterback Bryce Young, who will take his lumps this season behind that offensive line. But Atlanta's defense, which is underrated, should cause fits for Young and his very soft O-line. It's just not there. And Atlanta's defense is young and improving. Young has a nice day, but the Falcons' ground game is the difference here as they get the win and the cover in Hot Town. 1 Eastern in Cleveland, the Bengals are 2.5-point road favorites in a tough division matchup to start the season against the Browns. We know how good the Bengals are, but there's still questions about their defense, especially in the secondary. Joe Burrow's going to go. He practiced today with a full bill of health, and he's ready to go. But the Brownies are still a wild card with Massage Watson as their quarterback. But he slowly showed signs of improvement late last season. I'm going to take the Brownies in a mild upset to get the cover and possibly steal the win. 1 Eastern in Indianapolis, the Jaguars come to town in our third straight interdivision matchup to start as 4.5-point road favorites over the Colts. I like what the Colts are this year, as nobody expects them to do anything without Jonathan Taylor and rookie quarterback Anthony Richardson at the helm. Shane Steichen was a brilliant hire as the Colts' new head coach. I like him a lot. And while everyone is drooling all over the Jags and Trevor Lawrence this year to win the AFC South, which they could and probably should, I like the Colts here to start the season strong at home. Give me the home dog. 1 Eastern in Stoneyappolis. The Vikings are a healthy 6-point favorite over Tampa Bay. I don't think anybody expects Minnesota to duplicate their performance from last season, where they were like 9-1 in one-score games, and most believe they'll come back to the field this year. I'm not one of them. Tampa Bay was the worst team in the NFL leading up to about 2 weeks ago, when the Cardinals decided to openly tank this season in an effort to secure USC's Caleb Williams next April. But it doesn't matter because Tampa's still a mess. Baker Mayfield is the starting quarterback, which is basically all you need to hear. So if you're one of, quote, those people, like my roommate who loves Baker Mayfield, you're in trouble. This is a big number for an opening game, but I don't give a shit. I'll take the Vikings and lay them all day long. 1 Eastern in the Big Easy. New Orleans is a 3-point home chalk over visiting Tennessee. The Titans didn't do much in the offseason, despite getting DeAndre Hopkins. But after him, Ryan Tannehill doesn't have a lot of weapons to throw to us. Keep your eye on Chigo Okonkwo, their tight end. He's improving. He's actually pretty good. But here's the problem. The good news is that, actually it's not a problem, King Henry is back, and he's healthy, and he's ready to be the workhorse for the Titans. While I like the Saints defense, Jameis Winston is their starting quarterback, and do everything back Alvin Kamara is suspended. Give me the Titans plus the field goal. 1 Eastern in the stadium formerly known as the Giant Ketchup Bottle. The 49ers come to the Steel City as a short 2.5-point road favorite over Pitt. This one scares me, like Colorado-Nebraska does. In a matchup of two of the best coaches in the NFL, including my favorite head coach, Mike Tomlin, the betting public should be on the 49ers, who are one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl, especially now with Bosa signed. I mean, come on, let's face it. But they had an issue-filled offseason with the Trey Lance situation. Bosa just signed, about a half hour ago. And George Kittle probably won't go on Sunday. However, after all the talking heads I've been listening to this week, they all like the Steelers. The Steelers closed out last season strong and are back to who they usually are, with an excellent defense, a workhorse feature back, and now a capable, couple of offensive capable weapons for second-year quarterback Kenny Pickett. Yeah, Pittsburgh looked great in the preseason, but while there's not a lot of trust in Brock Purdy's elbow, I believe Kyle Shanahan will dial up a few specialty plays to get the ball to Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey. Give me the Niners as the short road favorite. 1 Eastern in our nation's capital. The football team now known as the Commando Skins are 7-point favorites over the Cardinals. Zona's just a mess, and every day it's more drama. They just named Kyler Murray a captain, even though he probably won't play. And first-year head coach Jonathan Gannon hasn't decided yet whether it's going to be Josh Dobbs or rookie Clayton Tune who gets the QB1 status. Washington, on the other hand, is going with second-year quarterback Sam Howell and should win easily. But the NFL's Week 1 is always tough, and I may regret this, but I'm still going to take the Cards, though Washington still wins. The last 1 Eastern start is just down the road from Washington, D.C., this time in Baltimore, as the Ravens are a huge 10-point favorite, biggest line of the week, over Houston. Baltimore's loaded. Now that Lamar Jackson got his money, the Ravens gave him plenty of weapons. Health has been an issue for Baltimore in the past, but in Week 1, it's a non-issue, and the Ravens' defense will have fun chasing Houston's rookie quarterback C.J. Stroud all over the field on Sunday. Give me the Ravens and lay the lumber. 4:25 Eastern in Chicago, the Bears are a 1-point favorite over the Packers. Green Bay has owned this division for years with an occasional Viking division title here and there. But with Jordan Love now the starting quarterback for the Pack, the great unknown begins for Green Bay. The Bears are the Bears and have been bad for decades. They got their quarterback, though, and they're expecting Justin Fields to take a major step forward this year 2 as a starter. I'm not sold yet. Yeah, it's Love and not Rodgers, but I don't care. I'm still going to take the Pack. 4:25 Eastern in the Mile High City, the Broncos are a 4-point home favorite over the Raiders. Sean Payton starts his tenure in Denver and hopes to rejuvenate Russell Wilson after a miserable campaign a year ago. While the Raiders parted ways with longtime quarterback Derek Carr in favor of Jimmy Garoppolo, the Raiders have issues. And for all the talk about Denver, I'm not sold on Payton and their changes, right? Just not. The Raiders are a mess, but Denver ain't that much better. Give me the Raiders on the road, possibly through the back door. 4:25 in Foxborough, the defending champion NFC champion Eagles come to town as 3.5-point favorites over the Patriots. The Eagles are favored again to reach the Super Bowl from the NFC, but they lost some valuable pieces from last year's squad and will continue to do so over the coming years when they finally realize how much money they're actually giving to Jalen Hurts. Things are quiet now in New England these days, but another year under Mac Jones' belt as quarterback and Bill Belichick getting points at home has me all over the Pats here. 4:25 Eastern in La La Land. The Chargers are a 3-point home chalk over the Dolphins. The Chargers paid Justin Herbert in the offseason and are either a Super Bowl contender or a 6-10 season away from head coach Brandon Staley being fired. The Finns are healthy, most notably Tua Tagovailoa, and they look to make a statement in the playoffs this season. Yeah, okay, it's a cross-country flight and all that for Miami, but Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel is going to run circles around Staley as the Finns get the win outright. Yeah, I said outright. I'm not saying take them on the money line, but I am going to say take them, but I'm not saying to not take them on the money line either. Give me Miami plus the field goal. It's safer. The last 4:25 Eastern start is in the Pacific Northwest, the home of the 12th man, as the Seahawks are a 5.5-point home favorite over the Rams. La La Land is in a tough spot here, as they look to prove last year was just in an injury-laden season, and they'll get back in their groove this year. I'm not sold, because the Rams are going to be another freaking train wreck this year, especially without Cooper Kupp for the foreseeable future. That's what happens when you buy the Super Bowl. It all falls apart soon after. The Seahawks are getting a lot of buzz around the media as a team that can push the Niners in the NFC West just a year after a career season from now handsomely paid quarterback Geno Smith and a ton of more impact players selected in the draft. I'm not sold on them either. Hawks win, but Rams cover the number as a live road dog. Sunday night at 8:20 Eastern at Snoopy Stadium, the Cowboys come to town as 3.5-point road favorites versus their hated rivals, the Giants. Dallas has the goods, period. And they got a loaded roster that's good enough to make some noise and maybe even make the NFC Championship, which they haven't reached in 30 years. Yeah, let that sink in. The Cowboys, America's team, with all the hype every year, hasn't reached an NFC Championship game in 29 years. But they've also gone 12-5 in each of the last 2 seasons. They win games, just not when it counts. Plus, Dak is regressing, and he needs a lot of help. The best season he ever had in Dallas was his first year when he had Zeke running all over the place, and he had the best line in pro football protecting him. That's all gone now. While the rest of the media was busy lauding New Jersey's other team, the Jets, the Giants got better. And after a playoff berth last year, they believe they can win the East under head coach Brian Daboll. The Giants have the tools also. An excellent head coach, a ball-hawking defense, and a quarterback that nobody believes in, and a workhorse running back who is one of the most dynamic in the league. I'm all over the Giants at home here. Give me New Jersey plus the points. And finally, on NFL's Monday Night Football, shout out Howard Cosell, 8:15 Eastern, a night after the Giants beat the Cowboys in Snoopyville, the Bills come in as 2.5-point favorites over the New Jersey Jets. This has the makings of a very good one. Two hated interstate and interdivision rivals getting after it, with Josh Allen leading in a very good Buffalo squad that has their eyes set on the Super Bowl again, versus the Jets, who the media has already anointed as the new darlings and is praying for a Jets-Cowboys Super Bowl, considering how much press they freaking get. While the media's been going down and knobbing Aaron Rodgers all freaking season long, he's still a dick. He doesn't get along with anyone in his life, from his family to his coaches to his teammates. Nobody likes the guy. Why does the NBA, why does the media fawn all over this guy? It makes no sense to me. I like the Bills here in a major way, as the media cries when Dallas and the Jets both lose their openers. Yes. Well, are 38 plays enough for you in week 3? Well, they're going to have to be. While it may seem like a lot of NFL dogs that I just jumped on, just know that in the last 30 years of week 1s in the NFL, the dogs are 121, 89, and 6 against the number, which is 57%. That's solid. I'm not one of those guys that sticks with trends, but sometimes they do matter. For instance, in the last 8 years of the NFL, underdogs within the division are 31, 12, and 2. That's 73%, which is why I took so many of them this week. Out of the 38 plays this week, 22 wins are just fine with me. But the closer we get to 25 wins, the better. The next video will be coming out next Wednesday. So until then, make sure to remember that if you want to win big, you got to bet big. You can't go broke taking a profit. Scared money don't make money. For me, the action is the juice. There's money on the streets that can't be ignored. And finally, good luck to you. Miss you, Gooch.